Hello, I am Kathy Freeman with Kathy Freeman Art. I'm going live today. I'm calling this Wednesday Wake Up. It has been, with all the weather change, a sleepy time for me. So I'm wanting to pop on here, get myself back into the gear. I've been busy working on things for my art sisters. And let's see here. I need to add another screen. Extra camera. I think that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for right there. Okay, I needed to add that to it. Welcome. I hope that you are having a great Wednesday. And I have been incognito. I've been actually off visiting grandkids, taking care of a family member that's not been well. And I have not been actively on here for several weeks, maybe 3, I'm not sure. And you kinda get out of that routine of doing that. So I'm back here today. Let's get going, and I wanna share a few things that are crossing my mind. Number 1, I'm going to share with you. I'm gonna put my camera on down here, change to this view, much better. All right, this is a project that, my group, my Art Sisters, is doing this week, and, I love this project. Why do I love this project? Because of the repetition. As I was creating this, I was really methodically going through and choosing my colors and picking my colors. But I'm on here to share with you the fact that if you're feeling a little like you're dragging along, or you're just needing a little pickup or something, it can be overwhelming to think of a full project, but if you can think of something to do that's repetitive over and over, that's so relaxing. And you can just really enjoy. You kind of get lost in the shape. You get lost in the whole movement of everything that's going on. So um, that's a little tip I wanted to just pop on and share with you about that. Is if you're just having really struggling with getting into a project, or getting started back being creative, go to your geometric shapes, because they're repetitive. Circles are wonderful. And do that over and over, and just kind of work and let that get all your juices going again. And this project, we're looking forward. They're having fun. I create a video for the girls, for the ladies, girls, sorry, for the ladies, and then they can go in there anytime they want and get it. And this is a great combination of geometric shapes and organic shapes, the flowers. And we really talked about a lot this week. On Tuesdays, I meet with them on Zoom, and I talked about how, the challenge for this is to choose colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, that are like in a little family. They're called analogous colors, but they're right next to each other on the color wheel. And they have this feeling of everything belongs, everything, is just very harmonious. And that's what I chose in this background, is these blues and blue greens and greens. They work really well together. Then I gave them the challenge to, whatever color they chose in the background, to take that and pick the complement and put that, use that for their flowers. So obviously the complement of blue is orange. And so that's why I chose these kind of peachy, orangey, tropical looking flowers here, is because that way it gives, anytime you use a complement, it is very it grabs your attention. It's some kind of a focus for people to look at. And so when you're wanting to really emphasize something, or you want some kind of a focus, use a complementary color, because that will be really uh, grab the eye. It'll grab the eye, give attention. That's something we talked about on Tuesday with those. So that, I know I've got my camera a little bit close to that, but that shows, if you're, like I said, wanting something you can kind of relax to, just pick a geometric shape and do that over and over. All right. The other thing I wanted to get on here and share with you is kind of my little treasure hunt, my find for the week. I think I'm going to lift this up a little bit, because Give me a second. Time out. I'm going to raise this. There. So there's a little bit bigger view of what I'm trying to share. I went to the fabric store, and I'm always trying to push myself a little bit to expand into different products, different, not just products, but items, different things, tools to use to create with. I love to use watercolors. I love to use acrylics. But I want to always push myself a little bit more into incorporating something just for the heck of it, just to try it out. And so while I was out, I stopped at the fabric store and I came across these wonderful fabrics. So I wanted to share these with you because maybe it'll spark some idea for you on what, doing, if you're doing a journal page or you're in your art journal or you're trying to create. Look at that wonderful, the colors in that's in this fabric. Now, obviously, of course, if you like to, do this and create your own, how wonderful that is. But I find that I don't really nowadays have the time to go to all of this work that's involved in some of this. And so it's so nice to be able to find these fabrics in that somebody else has created and to use them in the projects. So I'll use this on a journal page, that may be an art journal page I'm doing. Could use it. I would like to start doing some little books, some little tiny books put together with some of my artwork in it, and I may use that for a cover. But I'm just going to show you for a minute just some of these wonderful colors in that, and you're going to see a repetition of the same kind of pattern, the same kind of theme going through all of them. Look at this. I love this one because of the magenta color in here, the turquoise, the blues, in that combination with orange. Just wonderful pop. This one, isn't that pretty? The blues and how that has such a organic feel to it with those. And I've got a green. I picked another blue. Love that. Kind of a tie-dye look to it. Of course, a neutral to work, because I'm going to pull these into some of my projects. An orange. I was really pulled to the blues and greens, and I'll show you in a minute. But I gave to the gals in my group a project last week, or I think it was Sunday actually. And I was thinking, oh, wish I had used fabric with this. And so I'm streaming this into my membership group also. Ladies, as you're in there, and if you come across, when you see this later, as you're in our group and you're looking, this is an idea of what you can do with that project. And I'll share it with you in just a second. But anyway, there's a yellow. Look at that wonderful blue and white. Another purple. Love this. Love that. Pretty much, as you can tell, it's the same kind of thing. It's that tie-dye, that kind of batiking, I think is what it was called. I remember doing it where you would take wax and you would create the designs on the fabric with the wax, and you would put it into the dye, and then once it was finished being dyed, you would take it out. Did you ever do this? Do you remember doing this? You'd put the fabric underneath some newspaper or some kind of paper, put a hot iron on top, and it would absorb all of that wax, and it would pull out that wax and leave you with these wonderful designs in that. Really fun project. Like I said, though, right now I'm time-wise, it's just easier to purchase it than it is to actually create it for myself right now. Anyway, I pulled in some of these they had these on sale, and I think these will be neat to put as little pieces with paper when you start stacking papers and you're stacking buttons and papers and all kinds of things together. So I'll be working on some of that and sharing that with you in the future. Now, I am going to actually do a little project here with you in just a second, or if you've got some watercolor and some paper, you might grab that and let's kind of create together in a few minutes. But I wanted to share this last little thing. Where is that? See if I can find that project that I had given to them. Here it is. This is the project I gave to them, and it goes into my heart journeys. I think if you're on my email list, I sent this out to the whole group, whether you're in my group or not. I just sent it out to everyone. The message was focus on everything that's inside your boat. And I did a little thing on this last week. Anyhow, this is some fabric I came across. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? It's just, and I thought, oh my goodness, that would be so interesting, so fun to, what I would probably do is go ahead and put some color underneath here, but then to add that 3D, that extra tactile, which is what I personally love, is that tactile feel to things, is to glue this down and adhere this and add this, and it would just really bring that to life. So, ladies in my group that have this pattern, I've given it to y'all. It's in your Heart Journeys section in your membership library. If you choose, you might want to use some fabric instead of just paints to finish this project off. And look at that. I mean, it just laid down on itself. And if you to kind of glue that down, or if you're someone that likes to stitch, do some irregular stitching or something, you could stitch that down, and that would make a really beautiful piece of artwork. So I just wanted to bring that in and open your mind and share that thought of expanding into a few other things besides just our paint and that, which is, nothing wrong with that, but it adds something else to it. Bottom line. Okay. Now I am going to work on a little project here with you. I thought that would be kind of fun. Some things that I have here. I This is a new project coming up for my gals in my Art Sisters group, and I just made this pattern last night. And so this is something that I came across new, and it's called a masking fluid marker. This masking fluid marker works. I'm going to use it for the watercolors. What I've used in the past have always, and what I was taught, was to use rubber cement. I don't know if you can even purchase that anymore, but the smell is not very good, and you have to apply it with a little brush and all that stuff. This is actually a pen. And so I was going to, as they use this, I'm just showing this as an idea, something, and I'm going to play with it a little bit today with you, but you can use this to create your lines. It'll give a resistance to the color. So let's start playing with it and see. Let me move my pattern pieces here, my templates, put those over there. I'm busy working on their new stuff. And I'm trying to decide what size I want to do this in. Came across a really fun stamp here, this cute little mouse. And I thought, oh, that'll be fun. So I'm going to use that. I have this piece of paper here that, thank you. I'd love for you to post who's here. Let me know who's here and say hello so that I can say hello back to you. But anyway, the colors are invigorating to me. I'm feeling, like I said, it's Wednesday wake up because I feel a little sluggish today. And I thought, okay, these colors motivate me. I love the colors. They're soothing, but yet they're inspiring to me. So I'm trying to decide on this size to work on, or or the 6x6, but I think I'll work on the smaller size and make it more of a card. And then I'll pop back on here, perhaps Friday. I found another template and I'm going to start playing with this with some new paints. So I'll come back on. I think I save that for Friday when I get back on. I like to come on at noon my time central, because that seems to be a good time. It's not too early and it's not too late. All right, let's move this aside and just start playing. I want to use this pen a little bit, and I want to use this stamp. So I'm going to first see if I put this down. I have an idea. I'm going to put this up a little higher. Let's stamp first, then we'll use the pen, and then move on from there. So it can be drying. I think the pen, you have to let it dry a few minutes. I don't want to use my my dry, the dryer that I have, the heat gun, because it will melt. Okay. Let's just stick that little guy down here like he's floating from the sky. This will just be a fun card to send out. Maybe a thank you. I need to create a thank you card for a neighbor who made this amazing sourdough bread. Here we go. That's a cute little guy right there. All right. My thought is this. Usually I do everything in black line, and I wanted to try something new. So this may not work, but I wanted to try this and do it and let the paper create the resistance. So it comes out blue. That's how you can tell. And you have to push down on the tip. I don't want to ruin the tip too much, but we'll create this a bunch of these little flowers like this. They're not flowers. They're actually a weed. But aren't they fun to draw? And so interesting. While you're watching me do this, tell me what you've been working on. What kind of things have you been doing yourself these last few weeks? You've been painting something? Okay, let's see. Let's do a bunch of these. This is a pretty fine little tip too. I'm going to put back on here so you can see what it is. I don't have a link or anything to it. So, but I just found it at Michael's. I went out looking at and this is the brand that they happen to have. I know Amazon has several different ones. So you can find it pretty much anywhere. Get focusing here. Then what I'll do is I'm going to use a watercolor over the top of this, and we'll see how it turns out. Might make these stems a little bit bigger, and it would be interesting to leave a little space in between them. I think I'm going to need I'm doing some fine line here. I'm going to use my little bifocals here. Oh, so much better. I can see. It's the pits. You get older and your eyes aren't quite what they used to be. Yes, I can see better though. I'm going to go ahead and these may get covered up. But let's see. Maybe put in here. I'm seeing if I've got a picture of. Just add some other little plants or something in. Like he's fallen into a garden. He's about to land on this plant. I think you can see that. Okay. It's like out in the field. Just creating all different kinds of greenery in that out here. I find it so relaxing as I'm working on this, and just to focus on the shapes. And sometimes we just need a little project to get ourselves going again. get our habit going on actually being creative and moving and grooving. Okay, this will be covered up, I'm sure, but leaf out here. There we go. Be interesting is so always it'll be interesting to see how this works out, as it gets going. What am I if you just popped on, what I'm using here is a masking fluid pen. I just purchased it and I wanted to just play and experiment with it. So why not come on and see what it happens? I'm trying to decide if on this pen, it looks like either I am there. I might be pulling up some of the fibers as I might be pushing down too hard and pulling up some of the fibers from this paper. Do you ever do that? Do you ever start your sentence and then you just stop? I do that all the time in my videos. Trying to work on that, not do that so much. All right. So we're gonna let's see, like that. I'm gonna use that same and make this thicker shape, that same kind of flowing shape that's in the project I've got coming up, or can do with this. It'll be fun to if this is in a journal, to write something on this, maybe a little message or story in between these lines. And I'm going back over this, making it a little bit thicker. Try it this way. See how this is all going to turn out. Okay, 4 lines. Let's go below. Push down on this. Get some more up in that tip. Go. So you can see if this masking is going to work. And if it's something you want to add to your stash of tools. Can you just imagine what this little guy is feeling? uh, I'm just making some lines now. She's floating down from the sky. All right. There we go. Now we're going to let that dry for a second. A lot. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and I think what I'll do is cut this out with my little scissors. Let's kind of do a little fussy cut around them. Really grabbing this rose right now. And I'm going to go up this way because of the shape that it will create. And we can mimic these. This plant right here, we can mimic that in the background and do that with our own watercolor in that if we want. I could cut that out. I'll just rip it out. This is just collaging a little piece on. So that can get placed down there. And this has some really, really, really pretty, this paper. That could actually get added on a little bit, but I want to watercolor first and then continue adding as we go. So I'm going to pull out. Don't know how long this actually takes to dry, but I'm going to go ahead and pull out my watercolors now. Let's see. Let's use this set here. I'm going to start with a up at the top of my round tip. Grab a paper towel, so I have that up at the top. Let's use a larger brush. I'm wetting this right now. And add some of the yellow to this. Excuse me, please. Sunshiny day. Mix that in with a little sky blue. This will be very pale. I don't know that you can even see it. My camera has moved to me. Let's move to it. All right, we're going to take a time out. It's going to look like I've gone off, but there we go. For it to work correctly, I have to be the second one on there at the screen. It just kind of kicks. Okay, so you should be able to hear me now and everything. Let's go ahead and add some blue watercolor to this. And I'm not going to mix that too much because obviously it'll turn into green. So I'm going to let that dry for a second. I'm going to do some of the blossoming that watercolor can do once you hit the put the pigment down. Awesome. Now, this color, just a very taupey. Add that down here. Do I have something that's a little gray? We'll make that mouth brown. I need to move that out of the way, don't I? I'm going to move quickly with this. Going to grab some of this turquoise. That's really pretty to mix in with it. And I truly hope I let this dry long enough. I might have been too anxious to get this going. and not let that dry as long as the resistance needed to dry. So we'll see. I need to go for a darker color, because remember I did everything in the white, that's a resistance, so that the paper would show through. So for the white to really show up, or the paper should be, I didn't put white on here, but for the paper, then I need to make my background darker. Okay, come back. I'm going to add some of the blue to this. Grab some of this olive green, pull that in over here. This is where the flower is going to be. Bring this right on up here. That little mouse. Back. We're just layering on the colors. Isn't that beautiful how they're just blending together so well? And put some of this in here. Okay, now we're starting to get the layers to where it's really starting to get darker, and just have to be a little patient. Okay. I want to not heat this up too much to melt but I do want to put a little bit of heat on it. Let's see, my cord's stuck. Hello, my cord's not plugged in at all. What are we not plugged into? There we go. Let's just do a quick kind of a little, maybe from the back. It's just making it curl. I see that I want to add some turquoise down in here and up into here. Okay. I'll pull that up a little closer just so you can see just how the beautiful texture is going on with that. And the watercolor is creating. Okay. I think it would be awesome to add. Let's see, we did have these flowers back here. Those magenta flowers. So I should add some of that in here. Okay. And really emphasize like some leaves or something. So they're not just floating. Pick up this brown. What I'm doing now is mimicking or bringing back in some of this color here. Another way we could do that is at the very end is to take the ink and brush some ink on into it. Really get some of that color, this green. Now to decide what colors would be really pretty up here. And I'm thinking like some of the purples. I have this really pretty orchid color here. Let's see. I don't know that I've used it. Let's try it. There's a lot of color on that. gone over that line. I want to pull some of that back. Very soft. This is a whole different kit. This is its Vintage Pastels by Premia. I'm just going to keep using these kind of vintage pastels. I think they're really pretty. We can go over it with something else. This is very soft. I'm going to use that actually inside this little thing there. Let's see what color this is. It's almost like a dusty rose. Make sure I'm still in the camera view. Go back with the, where did I put that magenta color? Let's add that to this. Just little specks. Make it look like there's flowers back up there on the hillside. Wasn't that fun? Yeah, that's fun. I can see it. You can't really see it, but okay. I want to get into these purples, but not too dark. This might need to be a blue. Maybe this blue. And I've made it too close, so I'm going to really add some color to it here so that each one stands out individually. Oh, I know. Let's go over Got a gold. This is like a gold color over this kind of a blue-gray. And put this last one as a purple. Need to wet this down a little so that it will flow. There we go. Might be nice to even create the streaky, that streak of a, use the streaks to emphasize the movement of the. Just a fun, soft. I don't even know if I want to add this now. I can just, let's see. Sure. Have fun. Let's go back in here. Blend that down. I'm gonna turn on. Let's see. Isn't that sweet? Love that little card. Okay, we're gonna make this a brown mouse. Okay, and then we're gonna be about through with it. So I need a brown. So go for this brown, maybe. Let's keep him a little lighter. A little darker under his, like it's make his chin stand out a little bit. None of us truly like mice in reality, do we? In our homes or anything, not at all, but they're cute in these little images, these little pictures and stuff. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. A little bit of brown up here for his ears. I'm going to also add the pink in for, and this has really been fun. It's just a little stamp. I want to say stencil. It's not a stencil. It's a little stamp that I came across just the other day, and I thought, let's use this. Isn't that cute? Stamp that little mouse on there. Give it little pink ears. Okay, and the purpose of this is we're going to clear this off in a second and see what actually happens to, I'm going to bring this down so you have a better view of it. There. So I start rubbing that off. I'm letting it dry. We're going to let that dry, and I'll rub that off. Then put this on. And I don't need a sharp edge there, so we're going to rip away a little bit at some of these flowers. There, so it's not just a sharp edge. And that will be put on there. That'll be fantastic. So what we're waiting on in this moment is, I want it to dry. I'm going to I can't put a lot of heat on this because of the masking that I put on. I need the masking to come off. What I will do while we're waiting is let's take our fine marker or fine permanent, come back in here, and let's emphasize some of these because the watercolor going over it dulled it. And this little mouse is the focal point of this little card. Go ahead and make these eyes a little darker. Oh. It's got some whiskers here. Come back in, and we're using a squiggly line back and forth, not just a straight line. There's a straight line. Where's fur? Just trying to pop him back out because the watercolor softened the line too much. That's good right there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and try. It may be too early, but let's see what happens. If you're just joining me, I put masking on here because I wanted to use, save some white space. And it's coming off really well. What we're doing is I did those a repeat of that dandelion little weed there. Okay, and then I did some up here also. That brings back the highlights, and instead of outlining everything in black like I usually do, I wanted to have it outlined in white, which you can use a jelly roll. I could go back, but you're supposed to be able to use like an old school eraser or something too. An eraser actually against this. I think my eraser though is over on my other drawing table. But that's coming off great. It's coming off really good. And I can always go back if I feel like, okay, it's taken off, because I like this different colors and that's happening, the mixing and the contrast between some of the colors. If it takes off too much, then I'll just come back and add a little more watercolor to it. How fun that is. Okay, got a little bit more up here. This is the eraser. Let's see if that pulls it a little bit more. Pulls it great. I don't really want to use up my eraser on those pencils for this, but and it left a little bit. There was there we go. Move all that. Well, that is fun. I do like using that. I'm really glad that I came across that. If you just joined me, I know I have a few that just came back on. This is the what is it? It is this masking fluid done with a pencil. I mean, with a pen. And that is fun. Please tell that's turning out. Sweet little card. What I can do now is I'm going to come back in. And I'm going to add some color. Let's see what color did I use. I'm not sure if this is it, but just get some shadowing going on here. So add another little layer over it, create a shadow. There's that one. And the blue. think it was this one right here. Build some contrast in here. I started out with a really pale, but I always like things with a lot of color and okay. Now this one is that vintage gold that I have, as you see in this palette. And if you're wondering what, it's the vintage pastels. So I don't know if I'll be able to build up really pretty color. But we'll just try. And I'm going to be careful that I don't go over into the white space, the white area. That shows up really good, really well. Let's see. I think I was using one of these. See if it was this. No, that one's too light. Must have been this one. That's it right there. Grab a lot of that color. Fantastic. Add another layer of that one. Alrighty. It's really about done. I'm just sitting here playing with it as usual. Just very relaxing. We're adding back in this, what I've got to still add this to it, but it's got this little red, this magenta flowers down in here. So I want it to be like clusters of these up on the hillside. Just make them a little stronger impact here. By adding that layer on top. This doesn't need to be, I'm going to go ahead and, it's just in the distance, it doesn't need to stand out too much. Soften that down a little bit. Then let's come back in. When I rubbed some of that off, I did eliminate some of this beautiful turquoise and green. So come back in and add that in between the white stems. We're I'm just adding contrast is what I'm doing. Pull back in that green. Just so those will stand out a little bit more than what they were. Okay. Now we're going to glue this down. And I could use my matte medium for this. That would probably be a great idea. And this cute little guy is done. Is this the right one? Yep. Sometimes I'll put down my gesso or something and I have to really, because the bottles look exactly the same. See, I don't have my brush up here for this, so I'm using my fingers because it will also, ruin a really good brush. Don't want to do that. I still have things kind of packed up from my little trip, my little adventure here. Okay, this goes down in this corner. Some beautiful paper that I had. Lift it up. And just put a layer of that over the top. So it's a great, fun, easy project to use. You can use papers that you have, watercolors, and a stamp. Let's go over the top of this. I typically don't use my fingers, so if you're new watching me, this is not my normal way of doing this, but I'm making do because I've got my scrapers that packed up. Okay, I'm going to dry that. Still could use a little bit of drying. It's starting to bend on me. The purpose of this project was I wanted to, if you're brand new back on here, is to try out the masking pen, see how that worked, see if I liked it. Come back in here with maybe a little white. Can use the pen. Maybe bring just to get some lines back. It's wet from, so I'll have to let that dry before we go on, but I can emphasize those. And I can go back and emphasize, and it kept the greenery. So I've got these little leaves that I drew. Some of them I'll keep white and others. really want that dry. I wonder if it's because it's not adhering. So it might be. I think there's still some of that stuff there. There we go. Now the paper's taking it. I must have still had some of the gum on there. Didn't feel like it, but the pen was not responding, which then lets me know anyway, I can play with this a little bit more. Add that. Final thing. Distressed Oxide vintage photo. Loosen it down here to kind of fill that in. And this is just a fun get back in the groove project. Still a little bit there. I can work on that. There it is, little mouse floating through the sky on its little thing. All right. Thank you for joining me and popping in and out and being a part of my little. I just need to create something to get those juices back flowing. So thank you for being here. I'm Kathy Freeman with Kathy Freeman Art. You can find me on the web, kathyfreemanart.com. You have a really great day. Check with you later.